The walls are yellow, the curtains are blue, the room is plain, the girl is blonde, and she's going to talk to you today about description of places. Not description of characters, not description in general. I'm just going to share with you how I like to describe physical settings and places in my novels to convey what they look like as accurately and as fast as possible, while still leaving enough room for the readers to fill in the blanks. I'm going to start by giving you a disclaimer that this is extremely subjective and genre dependent. I write mysteries and thrillers, so the way that I use description and how much description that I include in my novels is going to be different from how much description somebody who writes literary fiction may include in their novels. Or how much description someone who writes sci-fi includes in their novels, or high fantasy. So I'm going to speak from my experience and share with you what works for me, but this may not necessarily work for you. So listen to what I say if you like it and it applies to you. Don't listen to what I say if it doesn't apply to you or you don't like it. And without further ado, let's jump into the content. So I like to think of my description of places as looking kind of like a upside down triangle. I like to start really broad and then narrow over the course of the scene. In my descriptions of settings, I start with the broad strokes, just enough to give readers a general picture of where the characters are and what it generally looks like, and as they move through it and start interacting with the location more, that's when I start to incorporate more details. So if I'm describing a house, I will start with the very basic details. What is the size of the house? What's the color of the house? What is the general shape of the house? Then I might move on to some more specifics. Like, what type of fence do they have? Is the lawn nicely mowed? Do they have a lawn? And then I might sprinkle in one or two visual details just to give a vague picture of the house. Like, are there kids' toys all across the lawn? Is there a fancy car in the driveway? Do they have a dog barking in the window? And then as my character walks up the stairs, I might mention how the stairs are really creaky if the house is in disrepair, or the fly screen is torn so they have to reach through the fly screen in order to unlock the front door and let themselves in. Movement is super important when you're describing settings. It is way more compelling to read about a character who is walking through a house actively instead of a character who is standing in front of a house and just staring at things that are happening around them. You want your character to move through settings and engage with them as much as possible, because that will give you plenty of opportunities to sprinkle in descriptions. With that all being said, I am going to break down an example of this with you and show you exactly what I mean. This is a description that I wrote in the second book of my series. I wrote this description before I came up with this system, so it might not fit it to a T, but it fits it well enough for me to convey my point to you. In this scene, 3 of my characters go and explore a creepy old abandoned farmhouse that is on someone's farm. It's like a really, really big farm, and the farmhouse is tucked away kind of in the back of the farm, and not a lot of people go there, and it's not a very high trafficked area. So they go trespass and go explore the abandoned farmhouse because there are some ghosts and some reasons. So this is the very beginning of the chapter, and this is when they first approach the farmhouse. This is the first part of the description. Also, the narrator character, Francesca, is very prim and proper, and she has a very polite way of speaking and chooses very polite words when she's speaking. So keep that in mind also. A lot of this description may sound formal, but that's because that's her voice. The old farmhouse was once white, but the weather and years of neglect have chipped away at the paint, turning the shingles brown. Nearly half of the roof tiles are missing, uncovering planks holding up the beams over the porch. The rain has gotten in, and the planks are warped. Boards are nailed over every window and empty doorway. The front door leans against the porch railing on a bed of broken glass, waiting to slice open the paw of any unassuming possum or raccoon that walks across it. Jonah scoffs, tugging at the metal no trespassing sign nailed to a tree. This place is a dump. We walk around to the back of the house into a small garden. I rock from side to side, glimpsing a discolored tire hanging from a tree. I imagine a child using it to swing underneath the branches and sticking out his bottom lip in protest when his mother calls him inside for dinner. Now it just hangs, swaying slightly in the breeze that rattles in from the field of corn stalks. The house was once somebody's home. It doesn't stop being somebody's home simply because nobody lives here anymore. Jonah glances at Shiloh as if he is checking to see if she found his comment amusing. She does not meet his eyes. Her steely gaze is set on the house, like the roof will pop off and eat her up. "How are we going to get in if it's boarded up?" she asks. "One board is loose." Jonah climbs the rotting stairs to the back porch and pulls the heavy piece of particle board to the side to reveal a window frame. Small triangles of glass stick out from the edges. Jonah points at them. "Someone kicked those in so they wouldn't cut anyone, but I still wouldn't put my hand on there. Oh, and you're gonna need flashlights because it's stupid dark in there." So this follows the general structure. At the beginning, we talk about how it was white, and then half the roof tiles are missing. There are warped planks, there are boards nailed over the windows, there's broken glass on the front porch. Just the kind of broad strokes to tell you that this house is not in great shape. And then Jonah walks up to it, and Jonah tugs at the no trespassing sign. So that's a physical, he moves towards it, and he's moving the no trespassing sign and shaking it, which is a physical movement, an active motion on the part of Jonah, and also reveals that there's a no trespassing sign nailed to the tree. And then they walk around to the back of the house, and Francesca does her little daydreamy thing. She's always doing that, thinking about other people and making up stories, and she's kind of whimsical in that way. And then Jonah climbs up the rotting stairs, and he climbs onto the porch, and he pulls the particle board to the side to show that it's blocking the window and that the board is loose. So it's all very active. Jonah is walking around, clomping up the stairs, pulling at things, moving things around. And that's how you discover that there's a no trespassing sign and there's a particle board over the window, is because I describe him moving the thing. I, as the writer, don't say there's a loose board in the back of the house. It's Jonah that goes, and he's the one that was this board is loose, and then he moves the board. So after this, the kids all talk about how scary the house is for a while, and then they go inside. So this is them once they've gone inside. A cone of yellow light emanates from the flashlight. It is unnaturally dark in here. Perhaps because the boards prevent any natural light from filtering through from the outside. A long wooden table stretches almost from one end of what must have been the dining room to the other. A flimsy plastic cup crunches underneath my shoe, probably left behind from one of the last year's gatherings. They used to throw parties at this house, it was a popular party spot for high schoolers, so that's what they're referring to here. A slender staircase climbs up into the shadows. I run my finger through the layer of dust coating the banister. It doesn't seem like many people come through here. Hence the abandoned part of abandoned farmhouse, Shiloh says with a teasing smile. She picks up a crinkled cigarette butt. I'm gonna tell Jonah not to litter next time he parties here. So again, this is pretty active. There is some description. There is the long table stretches from one end to the other, but then there are also active details. So a flimsy plastic cup crunches underneath my shoe. She steps on it and then the plastic crinkles and then she sees that it's a red Solo cup on the ground. She runs her fingers through the dust that's collected on the banister. That's sensory, that's another detail. So as they move through this setting, I can weave in different little details like that instead of piling them all at the top. And all of this is happening while these two girls are having a conversation with each other. So you can sprinkle sensory, physical setting details in as your scene is happening, and that feels very natural. Because at this point, people have an idea of what this house looks like, and they have enough that they can picture it on their own, and then the little details are really what brings it to life. So in this next section, I pass through an open doorway. Uneven floorboards groan under my weight as I enter the kitchen. Dead flies lie belly up on the countertops and inside a deep pot on the stove. The sink is empty. I twist the faucet. No water comes out. Did Jonah say something about me? Shiloh asks behind me. He did not. He definitely did. Why else would you bring it up? Creases appear on her forehead. Does he not like me or something? Of course he likes you. Shiloh freezes. He likes me? Oh, I accidentally put a foot in my mouth. That is not what I meant. Shiloh snorts in laughter. There's no way he likes me. A pause. Does he? Something cracks under my shoe. I lift my clog to display a crushed animal skull. Splinters of bone surround it like a bed of flowers. It looks about the right size for a rat. I shiver. Shiloh comes up right beside me. Come on, just tell me. Did he say something to you? So now the main focus is on the conversation. It's on the scene between Shiloh and Francesca. It's not on the description of the house. But they're still actively moving through the house, and so you can still weave in these details and include these details of description as the scene is happening. You don't have to stop describing things, and you can keep everything moving forward. So that's why I like to think of description as starting really broad and giving a lot at the top. And by a lot, I mean just a short paragraph of description, just enough for readers to hang their hat on, And then as your characters move through the scene, narrowing that description and focusing on the small details. You're not focusing on the house size when your characters are in the conversation. You're not thinking about the house color while your characters are having their conversation. But you're thinking about if you can smell something kind of weird, if they get a splinter when they're walking on the banister, if the wallpaper is peeling in one room, if they trip over something, if something is knocked over. All the little details are what bring the house to life, but you need to give a very broad view of the house to let your readers know you're talking about a house before you go and bring the house to life. You have to create the thing that you're going to bring to life in a very succinct and simple way, and then bring it to life in the details. So that's how I like to think about describing places. I hope this video is helpful to you. If it was, I'd be super grateful if you could give it a like and subscribe to my channel. My name is Claire Fraze, and I'm an award-winning author who makes videos on this channel sharing actionable writing tips that helped me make my own writing better. I'm the author of the They Stay series, which is a paranormal thriller series, a 5-book series. 4 of the books are published, and I'm working on the 5th one now. That excerpt I read was from the 2nd book in the series, so if you are interested in getting to know those characters or what they were doing in that creepy farmhouse, definitely go give my series a look. Do you have any tips for writing description that you found really helpful? If so, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear about them. This is something that has really helped clarify for me my strategy when it comes to thinking about description, and it's a great rule of thumb I like to follow. I hope you have a fantastic week, everybody, and as always, happy writing.